What's good, Wagering World? It's your boy Five Star in Vegas, broadcasting as always from beautiful Summerlin, Nevada. Joined by my co-host, the one and only Sacramento Kings fan I know, my boy Spread Astaire. What's good, Spread?
Oh man, pretty excited. What an NFL playoffs it's been. Been feeling great, enjoying the games, and it's beautiful out here in Sacramento, California.
I know that's right, man. It's always a beautiful time when you're in the golden state of California. And we're in a golden state right now, man, because we've been on a hot roll. As my guy John Granada said on ESPN today, I think that we're the only uh, show podcast in the whole country that hasn't had a loss in the playoffs, man. We've been undefeated. Um, our ball and parlay is hitting out 4 straight weeks, man. It's been an unbelievable run, and I'm just happy that we've been able to help the people spread.
Oh man, it's been so much fun. I mean, the games have been great, and then when you're winning on them, just makes them that much better.
Great, man. And as we're winding down on the football, so our format will be changing after the Super Bowl, guys. We're going to start hitting you guys daily because we're going to have to transition to basketball because even though our expertise is football, mine being college football and spreads more NFL, uh, we still have to make money, man. We're professionals. We do this every day. We're professional sports investors. So the season doesn't stop just because football season ends. So we're going to have to transition with the numbers and lines and spreads coming out usually about midnight to 6 a.m., depending on the region, depending on which book releases the number. So we want to get those numbers to you fresh and make sure that you guys have time to make a bet still with the information that we give you. So it's very important to us that we get it to you daily now since we're going to go to basketball. So we'll be transitioning to that at the end of February, and I'll keep you guys updated about that. Until then, let's talk a little football while we still have it, man. It's a interesting time in the NFL. Brady retires, then he doesn't retire, and finally he officially retires. What you think about the Brady retirement?
I was surprised, right? Roethlisberger, he needed to go, right? Drew
Right.
Brees, I know you're a big Drew Brees fan, right? But you saw
Mhm.
it. It wasn't the same cat, right? In
Lost his
2016,
fastball.
2017.
Lost his
Yeah,
fastball. Yeah.
I didn't think Brady had really lost it. I was really surprised. I thought they were going to have to drag him off the field. So
Right.
I don't know. Maybe the Antonio Brown situation broke him. That's the
That
only thing I
was
can think. That was his
that was the
boy.
that was the straw.
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
And
bro.
Arians wouldn't get on board, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some of these guys you got to make some exceptions for, right? Especially a guy who gets open on almost every route. So,
Right.
hey, what a great career that he had. Um, I'm still in shock that he retired. So Tampa Bay was not someone who I thought we'd be talking about with the quarterback openings this offseason, but here we are.
You see in the background, it's one of my favorite books that I read. Is the TB12 method, man. I'm a big fan of Tom Brady's success and his lifestyle and the work that he's put in. If you know, like we know and seen the entire journey, he's hated now for all his victories and all of the last minute things that went his way, and everybody thinks the NFL cheats for him and things like that. But man, this guy's had a storybook career. Came in the league as a sixth rounder. I still remember him being behind Drew Henson at Michigan. Do you remember that spread?
Yeah. Drew
Yeah,
Henson ended up being part of the New York Yankees.
exactly. He was a top baseball pick. He left baseball to come back. He was one of those guys that they were crazy about him, man. They wanted him. They thought he was the best thing since sliced bread. And every time he come decide to play college football, Michigan would give him the starting position, and Brady go back to the bench. So Brady's been getting stepped on for a long time, man. He deserves now the praise. He's earned everything that he's gotten, man, from just work, man. A lot of people might say he cut some corners, he did some cheating things. Deflating the ball is the most thing you can hold against someone that career, and I take that career any day, man. He's been a shining image of what a teammate's supposed to be. He took so many pay cuts in New England just to get guys. You saw how he fought hard for Antonio Brown when a lot of guys who consider themselves or call themselves the homies to Antonio Brown didn't do anything for him. He's the one that really stepped up to the plate and helped him revitalize his career and get him a Super Bowl ring. They helped each other. The point AB made was true that I'm sure if he didn't play football, Brady wouldn't have been his friend. But still, all in all, it's a benefit for a benefit. And like you said, I believe that was the straw that broke the back, the situation with AB. But he went out on top, led the league in passing his final season in the NFL, did it on his own terms. Has a beautiful model wife to go home to. billion, beautiful kids. So no need to cry for Tom Brady. He'll be okay. I really enjoyed his career. What's your favorite Brady moment?
Okay. Well, first of all, his career, kind of jumped on the scene, breaking my heart as a Oakland Raiders fan. Now they're the Las Vegas Raiders, but boy, that took. I didn't get over that for 3 months. So that's my least favorite. My favorite. Yeah.
Yes,
I still can't. That's one of the ones that still hurts.
That's when they first said that the cheating began.
Yeah. Yeah, that one still hurts. But probably my favorite would be this is when I was still working and I was doing gambling to supplement my income. And I'd probably made, it was a pretty large wager for me at the time for the Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
I turned it off. I was so mad. I'm on Twitter and they scored one touchdown and they still don't got a chance. Then they scored another one. I said, I better turn this game back on, right? And it ended up being one of the most exciting comebacks when I thought that for sure, I was on the wrong side. So probably the 28-3 comeback, man. I mean, that was just so much fun. If you had a Patriots ticket, apologies to Falcons fans.
I didn't. And it's strange that you brought it up because that's probably one of my least favorite memories. Yeah. That's one of those times that he had me calling him every word in the book. Because man, it's funny at the time that Super Bowl that season was in Houston, so I was going to the game, but it ended up that a club promoter that I knew very well, apartment club owner that I knew very well, and his promotion team needed me to help them organize a party, so they paid me a pretty handsome price to put together some artists for them. I brought in some hip hop artists from Atlanta, a couple of designers, and so I had to do the party from a strip club, right? With it being that mostly Atlanta artists that were hosting the party, it's a pretty much Atlanta Falcons party. So you know exactly how the party was the first half. I still got footage of it, man. Dude, the party was crazy because you remember the Falcons were scoring every other play. They couldn't stop them. Brady were fumbling everywhere. They were throwing interceptions. So the strippers are going crazy. Everybody's happy. The guys talk about how much money they're about to win on the bet. They're throwing their money. And the whole time I'm talking to my wife in the corner as we're watching the party from our section, I said, babe, I should have took the first half. She was like, what are you talking about, babe? They're up 28-3. I was like, we were in Vegas right now, my money would already be cashed. Yeah. I had a funny feeling. I was like, it's just everyone is just too happy. It can't be this easy. And sure enough, Brady did what he did, and he the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history. My favorite moment with Brady would have to be his first game. I was about a freshman in college. I was in Houston at the time, and I was at my oldest son's mom's apartment. She was staying on Southwest in Houston, and I remember it was a Sunday, and every Sunday morning I got like bought a box or something from some guy that gets all the NFL games, right? So I had my own little bookie service going amongst my friends where we took wagers and made bets, and it was a lot of money that day. I remember on the Chargers. They were at New England, and this is when Drew Bledsoe was the quarterback for New England. It's 20 years ago, man.
Who was the Chargers quarterback? Do you remember?
Yeah, Doug Flutie.
Oh, wow. All right.
I remember like yesterday.
Good memory.
Yeah, I remember like yesterday. And I remember the play. Bledsoe was scrambling, and Mo Lewis hit him like a shovel to the chest. It was unbelievable hit. Just squared him up. And obviously, I don't remember if he broke his sternum or fractured his collarbone. Whatever happened, Brady came in the game. And I remember I was sweating the game real bad because it was so much money on the Chargers that I needed New England that game really bad. And New England was on a bad losing streak. I don't know if people remember that or not. They had been losing games. So a lot of people on Chargers, and Flutie was new to the league again, had coming back from his success in Canada, running all over the place, and the league still hadn't adjusted to, scrambling quarterbacks at the time. So he was giving them fits. And Brady came in the game, man, and this guy was so poised, so calm, and he was just completing passes, sitting in the pocket, standing tall, firing off, and they ended up winning the game. And I remember telling her after that game ended, like the final drive that he took that got them in field goal range, and it was the same old story that used to be the original formula for the Patriots, which is the Vinatieri in, winning the game with a field goal after Brady calmly gets him in position, runs the clock, just plays just smart football all the way down the field. And I told her, I said, this kid has a lot of poise. He's going to win a Super Bowl. I never forget I told her that. And, as you've seen from working with me all these years, I'm pretty good with forecasting. And ended up this guy won 7 of them, man. So I never forgot that first game with Brady, man. So getting off into some things in the league that's a little bit less enjoyable to speak about. We got a lot of stuff going with Brian Flores suing the NFL in a class action lawsuit against the league and his teams this week. He accuses them of sham interviews, incentivizing losses, and pressure to improperly recruit players. And the 3 teams involved are the Dolphins, the Giants, and the Broncos. This lawsuit by Brian Flores, I commend him on this. A long time coming. It takes a lot of heart to step up and risk your career, because it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that he probably won't work a day in the NFL again, but he's sacrificing his chances at what he loves in order to make it where it's a better opportunity for the next coaches to come after him. As we talked about this before, Spread on the show way early in the year. I think we were talking about college at the time and the NFL about the low percentage of black head coaches and the short leash that they get. What's your opinion on everything with the Brian Flores lawsuit?
Yeah, first of all, not surprising that some of these interviews are a sham. I think a lot of times these teams already know who they want, right, and they're required to do an interview. So right. You can say what you want about it. The only thing I can say is positive about it. There are times where teams have said, we already knew what we wanted. We ended up hiring the guy that we wanted. But in the interview, we were impressed, and we might not have interviewed the guy otherwise, right? And so they passed that along, because all these guys in the league talk. I mean, this is, talk about a fraternity, right? I mean, this is a fraternity here. So you can say what you want about the rule, but the idea that some of these guys are being interviewed and not necessarily taken seriously, it's because they already know they've decided who they wanted, and they're trying to go through the rules. So, I think there could be some valuable criticism of the rule. Let's go to the $100,000. This to me is a failure of the NFL and the NBA. And the NBA had it right when they had 14 ping pong balls and not this weighted system. What do you think is going to happen when you're incentivizing teams to lose? Right? Because that's what happens once you're out of the playoffs. There's really no reason, from a fan's perspective, because we saw the Jets fans just up in arms last year that they won the game to allow the Jaguars to get Trevor Lawrence, right? I've heard so many podcasts where they go, they can't even tank right, to where a team is expected to lose. The drafting needs to change in both the NBA and the NFL. I think they had it right back in '85 when they probably had the cold, what was it, the ice cold for Patrick Ewing. But I think, and if I remember right, I mean, this is a long time ago, but each team had an equal weighted amount. So when you missed the playoffs, you had an equal amount, right? Whether or not you won 37 games or 8 games. And we need to go back to that. And I think the NFL is going to have to look into it too. Now, in the NFL, obviously tanking is much less prevalent because, number one, if I just don't try in a basketball game, right, 5-star, you're just going to drive around me and get a layup. No big deal. If I don't try in a football game, you can knock my head off.
I can get killed. Yeah, I can be killed.
So, not to mention the tape is so much more valuable in the NFL, right? The practice reps are important. So these guys don't want to be putting bad tape out there, which is why it's also rough, right? When like, for example, the Jets last year wanted that number 1 pick, that now the fans are mad at their own players for winning the game and trying their hardest. So that's the big flaw in the system to me. Does it surprise me that Brian Flores was offered money to lose? No, because the league's incentivized it. This is a league problem. Hugh Jackson came out and said he got the same deal with him being incentivized to lose. This is a league issue. It's easily solved. To me, you go back to that original 14, or I've heard another one where you just switch every year. You get the number 1 pick once every 30 years, right? And it just kind of goes like that. I mean, there's ways that they can fix it, and they need to do it. I want to go back and ask you a question on something that you said. Mm-hmm. You said you don't think he's going to coach in the league again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so curious to see how this plays out.
They're pushing them for Houston hard. You know, me being tapped into the city of Houston, the culture. You know, I do radio there every Thursday on 97.5. My guys on the bench. Houston is clamoring for him if the people are, and it's hilarious because as you know, Easter Bay, Jack Easterbay, if you guys don't know, he has like a quiet puppet hand position. Pardon me, puppet master position with the Texans that no one knows what he really does. He's just a buddy of Cal McNair, but he has an awful lot of power in the organization and makes a lot of calls. So the people say, and people who've worked inside the organization. Easterby comes from New England. He was like a chaplain or something in New England, and he came to Houston. And everyone says he tries to preach, running everything about, putting things about being a good person and about high standards and principles and the Christian way or whatever. So what now everyone is saying in the city of Houston is, okay, who has shown more stand up, more fortitude, more honesty than Flores right now? Who look at, he wouldn't compromise his integrity. That's what this entire situation came from, at the heart of the decision to make this to sue these guys. He knew about what's been going on with the fall interviews. We all know about that. It's a joke. The Rooney Rule meant well. It was in good intent, but it's became a joke over the years because these rich guys do. You call it a fraternity. I call it old boys network. The old boys network. They just get together, smoke cigars, drink $1,000 scotch, and laugh at it, because all they have to do is bring in a guy. They probably pay a couple of guys to just interview, knowing that they're not going to get the job. Look at Cully. Come on, at the Texas, he knew what was going on. He knew it was a year plan and he was going to be out. He allowed them to use him as a stool pigeon. But these are the type of things that we face when you don't have ownership. That's the problem. You're dealing with innate bias. These are old guys who want to hire someone who looks like their own, that looks like their nephew, that looks like their cousin, looks like someone they're familiar with. They're not too familiar with guys like myself. It's going to take more minority owners, more people getting in position. Stephen Ross, if these allegations come out, he's going to be forced to sell the team. He's going to be in a situation almost similar to the old Clippers owner had. They're going to force him to sell, because if you can actually prove in court that he was actually offering you to throw games, that's a federal offense. So that'll be a way where they would definitely make him get off of that organization, and they would have to take him out of the league simply off of antitrust laws. And the reason why this whole lawsuit, as I was saying, occurred is because he fired him. He was foolish. He offered him a deal to blow these games. He gets pissed, obviously, because Brian Flores doesn't follow the plan, and he was on point because he wanted Joe Burrow. That's what this all goes back to. Stephen Ross was obsessed with getting Joe Burrow. That's who he wanted as the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, and he was right on point. He was correct, and he wanted to go take the steps needed to make it happen. But Brian Flores is thinking like, hey, man, I'm already a minority. I'm already getting the short end of the stick on these job opportunities. Like you said, everything's about tape. NFL is 16 games. It's urgency in every week. That's what makes it so good for us to bet, because we know we're going to get the best effort from these guys every week. NBA, not so much. You got 80 games, people going to these different towns, big cities, beautiful women waiting on the sidelines for them. You see guys giving out numbers and everything from the sidelines in the NBA, man. I just saw little KPJ in Houston. He was ordering a grill from
I saw that too.
From Johnny. Dang, shout out Johnny. Me and Johnny know each other 25 years. I wouldn't buy a grill from my homeboys did. He had slum jewelry to me, but he's still my homeboy. He's came a long way, man, from having a little shop at the upstairs in the jewelry center. He had a little bitty 4x4, little glass, little hut. Now he's taking it all away, and I'm proud of him. But anyway, yeah, man, Brian Flores, the reason why he's suing him is because of the actions of Stephen Ross, man. Stephen Ross was a fool to fire him. That was foolish. You have to work with him because Brian Flores, exactly what happened did happen. Just another route. He was saying, look, if I blow these games and we get in a position to get Joe Burrow, you're just going to hold my record against me and you're going to fire me. And now you've done your due diligence. Oh, we had a minority coach. Now we put another coach in place that we really want to work with the actual team that we want. And now we still got Joe Burrow, which pretty much happened to Hugh Jackson if you look at it,
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, what did they give him to try to win with? Like, really, So, same with Cutler. What did they give him to win with? Really, So, this is a very interesting lawsuit, and it's a class action, which means people can join. So, the NFL is about to have a lot of stuff open, and I hope that Brian Flores is a man of integrity as he seems, and by his actions and everything I've seen about him. Because you best believe the investigations are coming. The NFL is going to send their best investigators to try to find out what he's been doing and what he's been up to, because that's how these type of things work. So we'll be very interested to see how all of this plays out. If they make Stephen Ross sell the team, he gets some people are saying he might get a federal case for this if they can prove that he was ready to pay to blow games. So interesting time. We're not going to even get into the Washington Commanders. What is it, Commanders?
Commanders. Can you believe
We're
that?
not going to even get into that whack logo. Them trying to copy the Pittsburgh Steelers with their color schemes and even giving out a rag. How corny is that? So we're not going to get
talk
into
about
that.
People who need to sell. We got to get Dan Snyder out of here too.
That was my point. Their owner had some stuff going ahead today, some federal hearings today in Washington. So I'll be interested over the summer to see what goes on with these NFL owners. Let's get to the past, present, and future, man. I went a little long on that. I'm sorry, man. I saw yeah, there we go. I apologize. I went a little long on that. First of all, man, let's get to the past. Our past has been beautiful, man. What were we looking like in the past, Spread?
Man, at the end of the first half of the first game on Championship Sunday, it wasn't looking good, was it, Five Star? Cincinnati Bengals go down early, and I'm a little worried about our pick, right? I said, man, maybe everyone's right, man. Maybe this offensive line just can't keep up, right? In the second half, not only does Joe Burrow come back to cover the spread, they, of course, get the win. Now they're in the Super Bowl, and the +7 cashes with ease. And then in the evening game, right, that one was a sweat. It was tough the whole way through. But the Niners +3.5 is good as well. We keep saying undefeated with these NFL picks. Pretty good for the past.
Yes, sir. We're very good in the past, man. We like you said, the Bengals game was a sweat, man. I gave out the over 27, so we hit that easily in the first half with the over 27, but we were on the wrong side, it seemed like. But I remember tweeting at the end of the half after that major stop by Louisiana's most hated player, Eli Apple. He made that great stop one-on-one with Cheetah on the outside after another fluky call by Andy Reid near the goal line. I don't know if he's calling. They always talking about Bieniemy doesn't call the play. So who calls the plays? Andy Reid call the plays. Bieniemy calls the play. Whoever's calling those plays for Kansas City, they get way too cute by the goal line. They've been doing that for years, and it finally came back and bit them. And we're going to talk a little bit about Andy Reid's decisions later on. We talk about kick the damn extra point. But getting back to the Bengals first half, we thought we were on the wrong side. But I remember tweeting after that big stop by Eli Apple, hey, last time that these two teams played, Bengals made major adjustments at halftime. They gave them completely different looks, and they held Kansas City to 3 points. This game, how many points did they hold them to?
In the second half, it was 3 points again, right?
3 points.
Yeah.
What I did after I looked at my film study, Zach Taylor, smart, sharp kid, man. Him and that defensive coordinator did a great job. Because what they do, they came out with 2 deep shell and a zone, which was what I believe they mostly ran the second half against Kansas City the first game when Mahomes shut down. They kind of inverted their game plan. The first game they came out and man, Kelsey ate them up, killed them first half, switch coverage completely. Go to a shell coverage, shut them down, making Patrick be very safe with the ball. It's nothing deep to look at, so he has to go to his second, third read or take a give me, which he doesn't like to do. You know that. So they ended up, stymieing him. This game, they go inverted. So smart. They come out with that shell coverage that they had in the second half. They gave them problems, knowing that Kansas City would have something for that and move the ball on it. Second half, switch up the coverage completely. They went to a zero coverage, and they had a robber down. They were using Von Bell as a robber now. So all of those zone coverages that he was looking at in the first half and at the end of the second half of the prior games that they met each other, that looks gone. That's why Mahomes was looking like he was looking in the second half. He was confused, man. He didn't know what was going on. And that's all scheme. That was all scheme. They got some a great coaching staff over there at Cincinnati, man. That wasn't by mistake, by chance. A lot of people I'm hearing them say, "Oh, Mahomes blew it. He sucked. What a terrible game." Da, da, da. In the first half, they was talking about he was the best quarterback they've ever seen. Everyone was tweeting that. He had broke so many records in the first half, like quarterback rating and all these things. It was scheme, man. He was the same guy. They gave him a different look, and they played ball the second half. Mahomes was trying to make things happen, man, and it wasn't there. You remember right before the end of regulation, he almost gave away the game to the Bengals in the end of regulation. He fumbled, but they were lucky enough to get back on the ball. Cincinnati is a good team, man. No way around it. Their weakness is the offensive line, and man, when they get that together in the next coming years, oh man, they're gonna be a problem for the league for years because when you're solid at head coach, quarterback, and kicker, you're going to win a lot of games on Sunday, man. We've seen that formula for years working in the NFL, and they're a strong team. The Niners, Jimmy Garoppolo, all I could do is shake my head at you, son. You allowed me. I was just taking up for you on Twitter, man. I was saying, hey, Mina Kimes, Jimmy G did have that drive at the end of the game to get him in position against the Rams to the winning touchdown. The tying touchdown drive to get him in overtime for the win, which he did. And I said, you got to give him some props for that because it had been a bunch of storm in the media world about Mina Kimes called Jimmy G pretty much a bum. And Jeff Garcia came to his rescue and got into it with Mina Kimes. Mina Kimes seemed like a football genius this past weekend, because if you saw that game, the only way that the Niners lose that game was the way that Jimmy G played. Going back to the first half, the first possession, they had a play, man. It was so beautiful that Shanahan drew up. Two guys were open for 30-yard gains down the seam. He had Kittle breaking. Remember, he missed Kittle. He overthrew him. Kittle was going straight down the seam, wide open, beautifully drawing in. Right under him, Brandon Ayuk was cutting on the underneath it about 25 yards in with nothing there. I mean, it's just one DB on both of these receivers on one side of the field. So they're going to get a huge gain or maybe a touchdown on this play if he hits him, sells it. Through all of that, the defense was still so dominant. 49ers dominated the first half. Just like we said, they took care of their business, won the first half, set me up, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later for a good hedge because they took a 17-7 lead. The Niners were supposed to win that game. Several errors on their part. The drop punt by Tart that'll go down in infamy in the Bay Area. They'll never forgive him for that because everyone knows, as a person who's in the Bay Area, everyone knows the Niners are a great team without a quarterback. So those type of plays you have to make to survive a team with a quarterback. The Rams showed why it's very important to have an A1 quarterback because through all of the domination by the Niners, the Rams still were able to get in position and able to put up the necessary points to win that game. They only needed to put up 20. They were able to do it, But as it was a great cover, we got the cover pretty easily on that one. So we're once again, guys, undefeated on the ball and parlay, and hopefully you guys ate. And if you ate like we told you to eat, you should be looking real good right now with a straight on Cincinnati +7, a straight on the over first half 27, a straight on the Niners plus 3.5, and a parlay with Cincinnati plus 7 and the Niners plus 3.5 on the 2 for $5. And what do they talk about for the present spread?
Man. What do we have for the present? Oh, I'm sorry.
The big game, baby.
The Super Bowl. I'm sorry. It's because it's a week ahead. It's a week ahead. Excuse me for that. Everybody is getting ready for the Super Bowl, except for me, it seems like. So I guess I'm a little behind on that, right?
Right.
But boy, are you surprised by this line here? Cincinnati plus 4.5.
I love it. I love it. It's gonna go more. I'm just sitting in the cut waiting. I go to the book every day, and I just go sit in. I do I read my stats for the morning, and I sit very close, like about a row away from the teller, so I can listen to the cashier. And all I've heard over and over: Rams -4,
Yeah.
Rams -4, Rams -4. Tonight it's 4.5. I think it'll be 6 by the game time. It'll be for sure right under 7, 6, 6.5.
It opened at 5.5, right?
Oh,
so the Bengals money came in early. The reason I bring that up, though, is the books are never hesitant to bring it back to an original number because they already have liability at that. New numbers, a little bit hesitant, especially half-point numbers where there's no pushes. They're pretty quick to get back to it. So I'm really excited. Of course, as you can tell, I haven't done my breakdown yet. We will be doing that next week instead. I think it's a fantastic matchup, though, really intriguing from a football perspective. Because, right, I can point to so many ways where the Rams have a better 52 players.
Right.
But the 53rd, when you match it up, could change everything because right now I'm a big Matt Stafford guy. I was so happy when he went to the Rams, so happy to get out of Detroit because I've been saying that he's so much better than people have been getting him credit for years. But this kid Burrow is something else. So, I mean, he's like the X factor that throws out all, you were talking about the shell coverages earlier, switching from man. I mean, Burrow's the X factor that takes a lot of that handicapping out the window. So I can't wait till we do the full deep dive on it. But of course, that will be coming next week.
Yes. We look forward to breaking down the next episode will be our last long form episode for the hour version of the show until next fall. We'll be giving you daily 15-minute shows on School TV to give you guys action on basketball and tennis. But the next show, which is the final of the fall, the final of the winter, football season, we're going to be all on the Super Bowl, man. That's all we're talking about. I look so forward to it. It shows you how thin the line is between being hero and GOAT. And I'm not talking about the GOAT greatest of all time. I'm talking about the one who's the reason you lost.
Do you know where that started from?
Where did it start from?
I don't know the year, but a guy tried to bring his Billy Goat to the Chicago Cubs stadium. This is like pre-1950.
That's right. Yeah. I heard it before. Yeah.
Tell crazy.
Tell a story. Let him know.
I mean, that's just it. And he wasn't. I don't think they let him in. And so now, if you blow the game, you're the GOAT. So
you're the GOAT. Okay. Yeah. So and now they changed it into meaning the greatest of all time.
Which they say if you just have a good half of football. So
yeah.
Hyperbole is alive and well.
Exactly. But my point was saying that is that your guy Matt Stafford, they're down 17-14. A little bit past halfway in the fourth quarter, maybe 6 minutes or so left. Kyle Shanahan, I almost put you on a kick the damn extra point for this decision. 4th and 2 from about their 40. They're up a field goal. Your defense is playing well. So what you got stuffed on the run. That shows you what they think about Jimmy G. You got Debo, you got Kittle. They should have been able to run a pick play or some type of play to get 2 yards, on a little quick pass off a play action or something like that. Even could have put Trey Lance in and did a rollout, and gave him a run pass option. I would have thought the Shanahan had a play for that because he's going to regret. I guarantee you this whole offseason he's going to think about he should have went for that 4th and 2 and kept the ball because the next play, maybe he doesn't because the next play they punt. Defensive coordinator D'Amico Ryans calls an excellent play. He pretty much figures out exactly what the Rams are going to do. He knows that McVay's are going to panic and take a shot. They're in the perfect defense. Cover 4, target is back. It's a punt. Stafford just throws the ball up blindly in hopes. I think Cup and Beckham were in the same area. It's like 20 yards too short. Just a panic, terrible throw, terrible decision. Everything that we know has defined Matt Stafford as much as the game-winning drives and the ability to get Detroit out of holes. Because, like I used to tell people, yeah, he's heroic at the end of the game. He fights, but a lot of times he's the reason they were in the hole because of his choices that he makes. He makes bad interceptions. He's always thrown bad. Had a couple of those a game. So Stafford makes a terrible decision, but guess what? He gets a second reprieve because Tart drops a punt. It wasn't even an interception, dude. Like, that was a punt, and he dropped it. It's right in his arm. He drops it. They get another chance. They go right down the field, and they go get the field goal on their drive instead of it being a turnover. Now it's less than 6 minutes. They can get to their run, grind the clock, put more pressure um, on McVay and the Rams because all the pressure was on them because everyone knows that they were the favorite. They got the home Super Bowl. His owners down his throat, the GM's down his throat. So I know that Shanahan's going to regret that he didn't go for it right there. But Jimmy G, man, oh my God, he killed us with that one, man. He didn't respond as he should have right there. And now the Rams face the Bengals, and they're getting all the hype, and people are forgetting about how thin it could be from being the hero to the GOAT. Because if you ask me, Matt Stafford made some big throws after that. Because that throw he made when he got smacked and threw it to Cook on the run and hit him for some great yak, hey, that was an awesome throw. And a shout out to OBJ. That's my guy. He's an LSU guy. I kicked it with OBJ a couple times at parties in Houston and out here in Vegas. OBJ, good dude, man. If you ever meet him, he's a kind person, man. All the stuff you hear about him is BS. He's a solid little kid, man. OBJ, he's been big for them. He's been big for them. He's been big for him. He made a couple great catches, all hands, that were very, very, very important to keeping some Rams drives going. And I think he's been a difference. He's made plays I think that Robert Woods might wouldn't have been able to make for them. So he was a great pickup for them, and I'm sure they'll sign him. And unfortunately for Woods, he's going to probably end up being a free agent and injured, which is never good. Hopefully, go back to Buffalo, though. I think they have a spot for him up there in Buffalo. But getting back to the Super Bowl, we look forward to breaking it down for you next week, man. A lot of great matchups. All I'm gonna tell you guys is like this, man. Vegas always wins these type of games, so just be careful, man. Be careful with your choices and make sure you tune in to us so we can give you the latest information. Let's get to the futures now. I was just saying with the Niners game, man. If you guys been following the show, I had the Niners to win the NFC at plus 850 and at plus 450. Unfortunately, they came up a little short due to Jimmy G. But as I predicted, the Niners had a fast start, and that did me well. With the Niners taking that 17-7 lead at the end of the third quarter with a minute left, I was able to get plus 270 on the Rams when they were down 10 points. And I hopped all over it, was able to still make a nice profit. So shout out to Kyle Shanahan, to Debo, to all of the guys who was grinding for the Niners. My boy Trent that ended up making it. Well, my wife had a very nice birthday week a couple weeks ago from what they've been doing in the playoffs. and the Niners came up just short of me cashing my $12.50. But as I said, I definitely came out well because they did exactly what I needed them to do, like we spoke about on the show, and that's having a fast start, never getting behind too much where I couldn't catch up, getting the lead. And when they went up 10, it was the perfect spot. And honestly, man, I was hoping that the fourth quarter went my way, but it didn't. But I'm so glad that from past instances, my experience as a sports bettor taught me to jump on that number when I did, because I would have been really sick if I didn't make any money off of that hedge. If I would have let that plus 270 pass and just be like, oh, they can't score on them. It's 17-7. They're going to win, which it looked like going into the fourth quarter, Some big throws by Stafford. They got some chunk plays back really quick in the fourth quarter, and they scored at the top of the fourth quarter right after the Niners scored at the end of the third, and that's what made the game get tight. And speaking of a golden ticket, it's some diehard Bengals fan somewhere, and he's like Mason, Ohio, or somewhere, probably spread this holding the the lottery ticket, man. If you took the Bengals to win the Super Bowl, you're in an unbelievable position right now. If you took the Bengals just to make the playoffs, you made plus 400. If you took the Bengals just to win the AFC, you should be a very wealthy man right now because these guys had some of the highest odds that we've seen. In fact, the only other team that's been 150 to 1 as they are coming into the season are the Rams, who they happen to be playing this year in the Super Bowl. The Rams won in 1999. You guys know, a memorable game. Kevin Dyson scored for the getting stopped, short of the goal line. Rest in peace, Steve McNair with the pass and almost led them to a victory, but the Rams were able to hold on and win a great game. As you know, that's another example. That was way back in '99. Back then, the Rams were the greatest show on turf, but that game was a defensive game. It ended up nothing like how people thought it was going to go. It went under, and it was a grind because most of these games are, because you're going to get coaches giving their best. Cincinnati came into the season spread from week 1 to week 6. You could have caught them at 20,000 to 1 to win the Super Bowl.
Wow.
What do you think about the Bengals and the odds that the long shot odds that they had coming into the season and them ended up in the Super Bowl?
I mean, I'm not surprised. Joe Burrow's coming off an injury. I mean, did Jamar Chase catch a pass in preseason?
He looked.
Right? He was talking about he missed the thing.
He looked horrible in preseason. Yeah. That's how I know he's a gamer. He didn't give a damn. That's all it was. He didn't care because it was preseason, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like, you know, when you get hustled by a pool shark with Jamar Chase, the way he flipped the switch. If you were against the Bengals at the beginning,
unless you're an LSU fan, and then you know, I know. Every LSU fan will tell you this dude's the best college football player to ever play. I'm telling you, a receiver, he's the greatest college. No, it's no one close.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, I'm not surprised that they were so heavy. Not to mention, I mean, the offensive line's going to get a lot more criticism this week, but not rating out very high as well. So, obviously, the number did seem warranted, and I think you give even more credit to Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase for being able to overcome all that.
Unbelievable, man. So, we got a real, long shot story coming in. This is, if the Bengals pull this one out, they're going to be making movies about them in about 20 years, right? Like you see in the movie right now, Kurt Warner has coming out long shot, you know?
Yeah.
Well, it's out. It's already out in theaters. I haven't seen it yet, but I will see it soon. I want to definitely see that movie. All right, let's get to one of my favorite segments, Kick the Damn Extra Point, where we talk about a head coaching decision that affected the spread and the game. We got to go with the big, lovable, huggable Andy Reid. Before the half, he was right at the goal line. He could have took 3. He got arrogant. And on top of not only being arrogant, he got cute. Went for it. Gave the Bengals all of the momentum heading into the halftime. After half, you saw that an invigorated Bengals team came out knowing that they could play with these guys. That stop was huge. And for them to get it from their weakest player on defense, it could only make the team, you know, really invigorated. You know, they're like, Eli never does anything. Like, yeah, man. So what do you think about Andy Reid's decision before the half spread?
Yeah, I mean, he's got to shoulder all the blame. And people will say, hey, you know, it's a Mahomes' fault for not throwing it out of the end zone. But you got a fighter in there, right? And just like a boxing trainer's got to throw in the towel for the fighter and look out for their best interest, because what's the fighter going to do? They're always going to try and win no matter what, right? Because they have the self-belief in themselves, and that's how they get to that point. The trainer knows when, hey, it's a little too much. Let me take you out of here. Andy Reid needed to be the trainer in that situation, not put Mahomes in that situation. And this time it was the full 3 points, not just the one for the extra point, but he needed to kick the ball.
Yeah, he definitely needed to. I want to say they had the ball down there. They had 2 shots, I want to say, at the end zone, if I remember correctly. The first one, I think he scrambled and tried to hit Kelce and throwing away. the play that everyone's saying he should have threw out of the end zone, you could tell that play was called from up top. It was to get Cheetah one-on-one with Eli Apple, because they were thinking he would be able to beat him one-on-one and get into the end zone. And Cheetah didn't try to shake him or try to outrun him. He thought he could run through him. And Eli Apple stood up, man, and he made the play. And it was a really, 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 really deciding factor in this game, man. I truly believe that if the Chiefs would have scored right there, I don't even know if we would have covered that game, honestly. I feel like it would have got out of hand. That was the encouragement that the Bengals needed. And we're very glad that Andy Reid didn't kick the damn 3 points because it made it where we got back in the game and ended up my supreme clientele. We were the only people probably in the universe with plus 295 on the Bengals from the jump, and we were on a heavy. We bet at the same amount that we bet the spread plus 7, so we got a little extra gift at the end of the game. I remember texting my client. I texted him and told him, Bengals smell blood. I saw when everything shifted, man. When the shift occurred in the second half, it was over. They had already figured out how to cover Mahomes, because you already know Mahomes is looking at, he's going to go Kelsey, Cheetah. And after that, scramble. After they learned how to take out those first two options, through. The Chiefs are going to have to go find a third receiver. They're going to have to. That's the weakness in the game. If you notice, most of the offenses have, and that's what make the Bengals so dangerous. That's what make the Rams so dangerous. And where are they at now? Both of them in the Super Bowl, because they have weapons all over the field, and they're strong, and their top 3 receivers are all viable options. The Chiefs can't say that. And McCole Hardman is a gadget guy. He's not a solid 2. They're missing Sammy Watkins, and I don't know if Sammy Watkins is the Sammy Watkins that he was a couple years ago. He has some mileage on him now, but he was huge, remember, in that Super Bowl. So definitely Andy Reid all off season, while you're on your whiteboard drawing up all your plays and your gadget plays, and you're looking up your old plays that you're going to bring back to show everyone. Think about the fact that you should have kicked the damn extra point. All right, man. You know what time it is. It's time for the Vegas homies. Let's welcome in my Vegas homie that thinks Ben Simmons is worth at least LeBron, AD, and 2 lottery picks. Welcome to my show. My brother from the
I'm going to stop coming on the show if you're going to keep blindsiding me with random Sixers takes I don't have. Okay? Every time I come on here, it's going to be some sort of Sixers thing that I don't believe or have never said that you just make up to attack me. Honestly,
you are the greatest. Hey, you are the greatest Sixers fan I know. So I gotta give you that.
It's tough. I mean, I'll say this. I'm not making a trade for Ben Simmons unless it's a trade that turns the Sixers into a championship team. There's a lot of trades that make them a better team, but they don't make them a championship team. And I understand Joel Embiid only has so many years, blah, blah, blah. But I don't want to make a trade and give up what is arguably are the most valuable asset the Sixers have, the most flexible asset the Sixers have, unless it means we're going to get a championship. I'm fine running out with Embiid and whoever we got. Maybe we could pick up a shooter or two here at the deadline, but I'm not giving away Joel Embiid for anything the Kings have, Spread.
We actually were just speaking about that. He Spread was saying that he believes that if David Stern was still the commissioner, that this would never be going on. That he would make them sit down and come up with a trade. What do you think about your favorite team you've been rooting for since you've been a boy, paying this guy to just sit on the sidelines and pretend like he's mentally ill?
So I will say the phrase pretend he's mentally ill. I have no idea whether he is or not. None of us know. So I'll put that aside and just say
I saw him at the club last week.
Who knows? I'm not going to speculate on that. No one should speculate on that. Really, it's unfair. I will give my team a ton of credit for kind of making the brave decision here of just eating the money here. I don't know how many owners in the league would be willing to eat money like this, but he doesn't want to play. You don't want him on the floor. Now, I don't know what kind of measures have been made to try to bridge that gap based on people I know and what I talk to and what I hear and read. People have reached out to him. Joel Embiid has tried to talk to him. Other people have tried to talk to him and stuff, and he just doesn't want to be there. So if you don't want to be there, don't be there. I mean, he's still an asset. You still have to have him.
Find a trade partner, though.
Because they're holding out for a better trade. We know that Daryl Morey is really picky. And again, all these trades that are being offered to him make the Sixers a slightly better team. And that's just not something that's so think about it this way, Andre. I mean, would you trade away your most valuable asset for something that makes you like 5% better? Doesn't necessarily even guarantee you like a 1 seed in the East. It offers yet to come.
But what if my most valuable asset is a 2010 Honda Accord? Every year I don't sell it, the value goes down.
Right. That's the same argument you can make for draft picks. People should trade all their number one draft picks by that same logic. Just because there's a deal in front of you and the asset is depreciating doesn't mean you have to make a deal. We see teams over and over again subject themselves to this game of chicken and get crushed. I mean, you look at the New York Knicks, they devastated their franchise for 2 years by selling everything for Carmelo Anthony 6 months before he was going to show up anyway. So I'm happy holding the asset. There's not a single trade I've heard that seems realistic that was actually real that makes the Sixers markedly better. So
you're not interested in Bradley Beal? No Bradley Beal. You don't think that?
I haven't heard that that's real. I've heard every time I hear that it's a rumor connected to a rumor connected to a rumor.
Get De'Aaron Fox. Like, what's wrong with you?
What's De'Aaron Fox?
Playing. He's not.
De'Aaron Fox is just Ben Simmons, but he's shorter and worse at defense.
He's not playing. No, De'Aaron Fox is a baller. He just unfortunately stuck in Sacramento and doesn't have the right pieces around him.
Can't shoot. He's real short. Can't shoot.
Is a baller, man. Don't talk about my little homeboy. De'Aaron Fox.
We need tall shooters that can sort of play defense. I mean,
come on, he can do the same thing. They can take Maxey off the ball and put him on the ball, man. He can create.
That's true. I forgot we already had De'Aaron Fox. It's Tyrese Maxey.
He's gonna know. He's gonna know.
Spread. What's the difference between De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Maxey?
Hard. About 5 miles per hour in the right. Fox is faster. The highlights are better.
Fox would make life easier for Embiid. He's a much better passer than that kid is, and he is. Stop it, man. That guy.
You're right. De'Aaron Fox is better than Tyrese Maxey. You're right. I overstepped my bounds.
He's a good player, but he's not ready to direct the NBA offense. You guys' offense would be a lot sharper if they took Fox. And the only reason I'm not saying that Fox is worthy of Ben Simmons and caliber of play. What I'm saying is Ben Simmons not playing anyway. So what difference does it make as long as you're getting a guy that's high caliber that can help?
We're not a championship team with De'Aaron Fox.
It's a strange time. It's a strange time because you got Deshaun Watson sitting on his butt making $17 million in Houston.
There's a lot of people collecting big checks at home.
Yes, and you got Joel Embiid. Ben Simmons.
Between that and unemployment last year, it's kind of the theme of the last year.
And this is my thing. I don't count any man's money. Get the most you can. I'm always a pro worker. I'm that type of guy. I'm pro worker anytime. But at the end of the day, I also believe in getting paid for your work. You know what I'm saying, for what you do. So it's kind of like, I like to see these guys. I'm very interested to see what kind of leverage these guys hold on these franchises to be able to pull this, because we've never seen this before in all of our years of covering and watching sports, right? Right, guys?
And that's what I would say. That's why I'm kind of proud of Morey and I'm proud of the Sixers. They're not making a trade they don't want to make because this agent's unhappy and everyone's talking about it. I mean, I don't know what it's endemic of. We're starting to see it pop up more and more, but again, if I'm the Sixers, I'm not moving.
As a Rockets lifer, I warn you, don't trust Daryl Morey. and after that, we'll go to get to your segment. What you got for us today?
I am a Daryl Morey defender. I am a Sam Hinkie defender. But let's talk about some Super Bowl. You guys did a great breakdown of the last weekend, kind of teed up some of the stuff for Super Bowl. Just in general, I'll quickly say I'm with you guys on Team Bengals. There's something about quarterbacks that just keep winning, and I'm not one to get in front of a runaway train. I'm happy to jump on the back of it, and we've continued to see the only thing that could stop Joe Burrow be his body, and until he gets injured, he's just going to keep winning games. Yep. I couldn't have been more of a fan of him talking about the Kansas City Chiefs Stadium. I went into Auburn and beat Auburn. I don't care about any of that. There's nothing those people can do to me. I like the Bengals in general. We'll get to that a little more next week. Again, that's the fun part about the Super Bowl. We have some time. But the other fun part is this is the biggest menu for any football game that we have all year, and we get it early. I mean, basically the way the Super Bowl works with the 2 weeks, at this point now, we're a little more than a week ahead of the game. You've got your Sunday morning board here. There's still some props that are going to pop up here and there, but everything that you would bet normally on Sunday is here. I think we'll go through that, and then next week we'll get into some of the more weird stuff that starts to open up throughout the week, a little more interesting stuff. And I'll start with one of my favorite bets, one of the first bets I make every single time Super Bowl lines come out. First quarter under. This game is weird. The Super Bowl is a weird football game. You have a 2-week break. You come in a little bit cold. The start time is odd. There is a lot of prep. There's a lot of stuff happening before the game, and that's even before considering the jitters of being in a Super Bowl. We know most of this Rams team has been to a Super Bowl before, but this is a brand new experience for pretty much everybody in Cincinnati. So in general, and we'll talk about some more ways to bet on kind of this theory, I look for ways to bet unders in the first quarter, and I'm going to start with the first quarter under 9.5. And then the first quarter to be a tie, depending on where you look, it's right around plus 350. And my angle here is it's going to be 0-0 or 3-3 or something like that. And, next week we'll talk about some more specific scores. But I'll start with you here, Spread. What do you think of that theory? I mean, how do you think about, the first quarter being a slow start?
Yeah, I mean, and it's proved. We talked about Tom Brady's retirement, right? Wasn't this the first time that he had scored in his most recent Super Bowl win, that he actually got a touchdown in the first quarter? So it makes sense. It's the biggest stage in the world, and you do not want to go down early due to a mistake. So, of course, you're going to play conservative. And every coach since the beginning, the first time they started playing football, always wants to establish the run. And it seems like it's even more amplified in the Super Bowl. They just want to get the hits, get get everything out of the way, get the nervousness, and have it turn into a football game. And you've heard players talk about, doesn't really feel like a normal football game until about the first or second series. You're overwhelmed by all the spectacle, everything that's going on. I love your angle here.
Yeah, Andre, I know you're big into kind of the psychology of players. So talk about that a little bit. And then again, I know you've watched the game tape here. I think we're going to see a lot of running earlier as well. So I think on top of kind of all that, qualitative stuff, when I look at the game state, when I look at the way these two teams are going to attack each other, I don't think it's going to be a bunch of early bombs. I mean, maybe one quick play or something. But, what do you think about betting unders early here?
Oh, that's one of my go-tos. Every year I bet it. First quarter unders hit for years. And I probably guessed that it probably will hit again this year. As you said, both teams will be running the ball early, especially Cincinnati. They led the league in first down carries. Joe Mixon did. So they're going to run the ball. They're going to try to stab someone to settle down a little bit. The Rams, I wouldn't be surprised if they take a couple shots early. Maybe they get on the board, but I don't see a fast start from either team. What is it right now, 9.5?
9.5 with a little bit of juice. If you look some other places, it's 7.5, maybe with a little better number. I've been trying to find 9.5, maybe minus 15 or better. If it's 7.5, looking for plus money, anything like that. And there are some other ways to bet it. So again, there'll be some more stuff next week. Like you get things no score the first 5-6 minutes, and we'll talk about that then. But two other angles here. You can bet the first quarter to be the lowest scoring quarter at a little better than 2-1 odds, and you can bet the second half to be the highest scoring half at around minus 115. Andre, I'll start with you this time. What do you think of those as kind of other angles if maybe you don't have a 9.5 at a good number?
That's a great angle, actually, Noops. And just briefly back about what you said, if you can catch that plus money on that under 7.5, I suggest that you take that, because there's no difference between the 7.5 and the 9.5. You're going to lose anyway by a touchdown or field goal. It's very rare that they're going to get a safety. You know what I mean? So it would be, I would probably take the plus man on that. And that leads into what you're saying. Definitely you want to go with the first quarter. That's actually a great prop. What book is offering those two props that you just said?
It's some offshores that I'm looking at here. Again, certain places have bigger menus than others. My guess, if you look around in town, Andre, my guess is Boyd. Boyd generally has a little bigger menu. Some Boyd spots might have that. I don't know if Will Hill has that lineup, but same kind of question to you there, Spread It, and maybe even ask a different one. If you had to pick between lowest scoring quarter, first quarter at plus 200, or second half, highest scoring half minus 115, which are you picking?
Second half, because I have the potential for the prevent. If one of these teams gets out, right, to a big lead, right, and it's not an exciting football game, that second half is going to be an easy cash. So I would prefer that one.
All right, looking through here, and again, kind of similar to this, these are up early, and again, a few places have these. The odds for both teams to punt on their first drive. The Cincinnati Bengals are minus 125 to punt on their first drive. The Rams minus 105 to punt on their first drive. Do either one of you like either one of those quite a bit?
I would take the Rams if I had to. I would take the Rams if I had to on that one. I would think that they have more incentive to be conservative, being the favored team, and as well as both coaches have to know that the Rams are coming in with a better defense, right? If Kansas City wins, it's because they're going to be outscoring their opponent. I think they have more incentive to come in and be aggressive, where Sean McVay's got a more incentive to try and get Akers, Henderson, those guys involved. So I would prefer the Rams one if I were to take that bet.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you agree, Andre?
Yes. On that one, on either one of these guys, both of them would be a coin flip for me. And the reason why is because we're dealing with two teams that have both shown the ability to be very efficient on offense and very explosive. Both teams can hit you, especially, look, they're playing indoors. They're going to be on a fast track. Both teams can have the receivers that can go all the way on one play on both sides. You know that. So you're dealing with that. And you're also dealing with two quarterbacks that are great at throwing the long ball and also very efficient in running the offenses, being able to check to the correct play. So when I'm dealing with that, it's a coin flip. So I'd rather stay away from both of those bets because you have also another factor, two offensive coaches that both make their money on offense. So you don't know if their script that they come out with is on point and someone gets a field goal the first drive or even a touchdown. So, now I wouldn't do they offer the amount of time for the first drive? Now that would be interesting.
Not yet. That might be next week.
And they'll have one of those. They'll have that.
Time of possession for first drive, that interests me more than it would whether one punts or not. Because I'm sure throughout the season, neither one of these teams have punted a lot in the playoffs. If I think back about it, really, both of them have. Even the Rams, most of the times that they've turned over the ball, it hasn't been punts until the Niners game. They've been, missing field goals or a turnover. They've been driving up and down the field. So with that one, like you said, I'd be a little careful about it. I'd look more to the time possession.
And the other thing I'll say, the only reason I haven't made those bets is these are two coaches that don't mind going for it on fourth down. You might lose this bet with a fourth down conversion somewhere just over a half field. Right, the other market that is open here that is a lot of fun to talk about, and again, we'll get into a lot more stuff there. You guys have already brought up some ones we'll talk about next week, but the last one I had here, MVP. Super Bowl MVP is always kind of a fun market. In a lot of ways, this is a good way to get a better price on a money line for a team that you think can win. A lot of years, there's some pretty clear options. But I think as I look at this, it's probably the cloudiest year in a long time, especially given how each one of these teams, they both have marquee quarterbacks. Of course, Joe Burrow is a great candidate. Stafford, of course, is a great candidate. But each of these teams has a marquee, position player. And the Bengals honestly even have two. Maybe you could make a case for somebody on the Rams on the defensive side of the ball as well here. So you've got Matt Stafford here. He is the MVP favorite. That's correlated to the Rams being favored to win the game. You've got Burrow here right around 2-1. And then you start to look at Cooper Kupp 6-1, Jamar Chase 20-1. I was looking at Aaron Donald 10-1. So I'll start with you here, Spread. As you start to look at some other candidates for MVP, was there any names that stuck out for you, or do you think we should stick to the quarterbacks?
There's only two. Aaron Donald and Von Miller. And I'm going to say, you're going to say Jamar Chase and Cooper Kupp have a great chance. That's really a tough parlay you're trying to hit, because not only are you betting that those guys are getting 150 plus and 2 touchdowns, you're also betting that Stafford or Burrow respectively throws interceptions, right, to take them out of it, because everything that Chase throws, that's dinging up Burrow stats as well. So I would only look to the defensive side. Unless it's some crazy cornerback like the Larry Brown situation on the Cowboys back in the 90s, right, where one defensive player gets 3 interceptions, it's going to be the guy that gets a bunch of sacks. So Aaron Donald's 10-1, and I know Von Miller is a huge long shot, right? But we've seen him get the Super Bowl MVP before. And if Aaron Donald's grabbing 3 blockers and he's able to run free, he might be the guy tallying the sacks. He might be the guy with the forced fumble, the fumble recovery, right? So those are the only two I would look at that aren't the quarterbacks, is Donald and Von Miller.
I like that a lot, and that's really where I was when I kind of brought up Donald here. We talked about this a little bit already. I mean, it's Joe Burrow seems to be just kind of this guy who is magical, but we've seen him get almost killed for the last 3 weekends. And like you said, Spread, if finally some team gets to him, boy, it really looks like this team. And Aaron Donald, you said taking up 3 guys. I didn't laugh. He takes up 3 guys regularly. It's usually 2 linemen and someone behind him. So as much trouble as Cincinnati's going to have, things are going to be much worse this week. Andre, as you look at the MVP market, again, kind of same question. Do you think there's any value in the quarterbacks? And if not, is there anyone, kind of on the other side of the ball or kind of outside of quarterback that looks good to you?
For the very reason that you guys said about they're gonna have hell protecting Joe Burrow this game. We all know that. Joe Mixon is gonna be huge. He's gonna be huge in the rush game and in the passing game. We saw last week what he can do on. A lot of people forget he's the forgotten man on that offense because of all of the explosive plays by Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, the great American hero. People forget that probably the most explosive player and the most talented player on that offense might be Joe Mixon. He's right there with Jamar Chase. Strong, fast, can catch, breakaway speed, comes to play, tough to get on the ground. So I would be very, very interested to see what's the number on Mixon to win the MVP, because he could very much steal the show in LA. We've already seen what type of run defense the Rams can have at times. They were solid last week against the 49ers, but the 49ers running back, Mitchell's a rookie. He's nothing like Mixon. The Bengals have shown that they run block completely better than they pass block. So I'll be interested to see. And once again, they're going to have to screen game a little. You got to be careful with the screen with the Rams. You have to sell it really good, damn near hold Aaron Donald off the line when you screen him, because he's so smart, man. And he's so quick and athletic. He blows screens up left and right, So, but I do expect Mixon to be a factor in this game. And another guy we'll look at would be T. Higgins. T. Higgins has shown the ability as the second receiver to really go off. He had one of the biggest receiving games in the season this year, went almost 300 yards, So he's definitely a factor, and there are going to be a lot of eyes on Jamar Chase. I wouldn't be surprised if Ramsey makes the mistake of fouling him across the field. T. Higgins is going to kill the backup cornerbacks, the second and third cornerbacks for the Rams, because they're not impressive. And T. Higgins is that guy like that. He's a number one receiver. He has number one receiver hands, talent, and skills. And he's the thing that a lot of people forget about this young team that I was telling my guys on 97.5. The Bengals aren't going to be scared coming into this game, guys. The Bengals, they have one thing going for them, and that's a super thing to have right now, and that's the arrogance of youth. They care less about what the world is saying to them. No one's going to beat them, and then they have so much recent success. Jamar Chase, what did he do in the national championship game? Beast. The game was over at halftime. Did everything he wanted. Joe Burrow, beast. Game was over at halftime. National championship. T. Higgins, national championship. Won the last time he played in the championship game. You know what I mean? Joe Mixon got to the playoffs, played big, had a huge game. So these guys are used to, like they're saying, like Joe Burrow said about going to SEC, they're used to playing in these big stadiums and big games in college, because that's one thing you got to give the Bengals. They drafted some guys from some real strong colleges. So like I said, I'll be looking at Joe Mixon and T. Higgins, man.
Yeah, Joe Mixon 40-1. T. Higgins also 40-1. I like Mixon much better at that price. He was kind of who I was hinting at when I mentioned kind of the secondary players for the Bengals. I think you look at Burrow, you look at Chase, and you look at Mixon. Those are really the three big pieces there for them, and the guys that are going to score multiple touchdowns. Higgins is someone that I'm not seeing anytime touchdown scores up a ton of places. I'll definitely have a ticket on him just to score a touchdown at some point during the game. Maybe even a first touchdown ticket. But those are some good MVP choices. Again, let's look away from the quarterbacks. Chase 20-1, Mixon 40-1, Donald 10-1, a little sprinkle maybe on Miller 40-1. So some good odds for us there. And that's all the props we've got for now, gentlemen. Again, next week I'll come back and we'll cover even more. I'll start to look up some of the things you mentioned, but that's all I've got, unless you have any other questions for me.
I got a question for you. What WTA tournament we got coming up in tennis this week, Noops?
It'll be nice. We finally have some tennis again. They took a little bit of break. We had the Australian Open, almost worked out for us. It turns out that Barty took care of business, and Nadal was great. I know Spread likes it when the old guys win, so congratulations, Spread. Really
And the bald guys.
Go ball guys.
That's right. That's a double.
So yeah, it's a double for me.
This week we'll be in Russia. There's the St. Petersburg tournament there. Should be nice. It's a 500, just a single tournament, so we'll probably have a good field there, and it's indoor, which is always fun. So we will have a little bit of tennis talk maybe next week as well.
Off the dome, you know who I like on that one, Castakina.
I know you both love her, so she's been great, especially in her home country. It's pretty good.
Okay. All right, hey, we thank you so much, Noops. We'll talk to you next week, brother.
Awesome. See you guys.
Hey, Noops, I got the De'Aaron Fox jersey headed to your house. I'll go ahead and order that one.
Look forward to throwing it in the trash.
Make sure it's in that black one with the little rainbow one.
Yeah.
Love you, man. Later.
See you guys.
All right. Yep. So now it's time to get to the viewers' favorite part of the segment and the show, and that'll be the segment we call Ball and Parlay. This is where I give you my strongest bet for the week. Spread gives you his strongest bet for the week. You bet them straight, and then you parlay them. 200, get you 500 on the parlay. With no football this weekend, we got to move around and find some edges and advantages for you guys. Spread has a fight he's going to give you, and I got a college basketball game that's happening on Friday night. So if you watch the show, it goes up on Scoon Friday morning. Make sure that you remember that the game that I'm giving out will be Friday night. So it won't be a weekend game. So you got to get right to it because basketball works a little bit different. They give us the lines very late in that sport. Not too helpful to sports bettors with basketball. So what you got there, Spread, for the for your bet?
I'm gonna take it back to my old days. Gambling on boxing was one of my favorite things, and then as the lines got more and more ridiculous, it was harder for me to find a profit. Switched more to tennis and the NBA, but unfortunately for both of those, any plays I gave out by the time that happened, you watched the show, the match is already over. You could see if I won or lost, but you couldn't take action on it. So went back. Keith Thurman is fighting Barrios this week. Mario Barrios. So that's going to be a pay-per-view. And if you're enjoying that, I got a little action on the undercard. I like Leo Santa Cruz and Carbajal to go over 9 rounds. I see a juiced 8.5. I would rather pay the over 9 here. Here's my idea. Leo Santa Cruz, high volume fighter. Exciting. Great idea to have him on the undercard. One thing that he does not have, though, is the knockout power. And so a lot of times he wins on points. He's a point fighter, and he likes to do that. If he does get a stoppage, it's rarely like the clean, spectacular knockout. It's usually just the accumulation of damage by his opponent. But I don't think that's going to be the case tonight. Carbajal, a young, exciting fighter. He has a lot of power, a lot of pop, right? I'm even more worried Carbajal gets the upset here if this fight were not to go over. But Santa Cruz, I expect him to win by decision. But I'm going to go ahead and take the over 9. That'll be the first half of our ball and parlay.
Okay, that sounds good. And when is that fight, Spread?
It's on Saturday night.
Okay, so you guys get Saturday night. You get the over 9 rounds on the Santa Cruz Carbajal fight. And I'll be giving out a college basketball. My model's been doing very well. I gave out some games this morning on 97.5. Leading into Friday, if you guys bet college basketball as I do, it's one of the more lenient, smaller little schedules. It's a lot of Ivy League ball because Saturday morning is a huge day in hoops. But unfortunately, with our timing and everything, we have to give out a Friday night game. So I'm going to give you guys Wright State -4 against Detroit Mercy University. Wright State is a good team. They've been hot. They have a great history against these guys head to head. They won the last 9 out of 10 matchups. None of the games have been close. They've covered the spread on all 9 of their victories against Detroit. Also, Wright State is heading into this game winners of their last 5 games. Wright State is hot, man. They're just a good team right now. They're playing good ball. Detroit is playing good. They've won their last 3. But the home field advantage that Wright State has at home, as I told you, they win at home. They've won 4 straight at home, and I expect their dominance in the series to continue. The main stat that I'm looking on for this game is the fact of defense. And Detroit plays 0 defense, man. Their field goal percentage is 280th ranked in the country. They give a 45% shooting to their opponents. And Wright State is one of the better field goal shooting teams in the country. 47% they shoot per game. So look for them to win easily by the 2 buckets that they're giving up. And we're riding with Wright State. It's -4 spread. You got the plus.
Oh, I'm
4.
sorry.
I might have told you wrong. Sorry, guys.
That's my mistake, but it's -4.
Wright State -4 and the over 9 rounds on the fight the spread mentioned. We guys can't wait to talk to you next week. We'll have a Super Bowl special show for you on the Wagering World where everything on this thing will be all Super Bowl, breaking down props, breaking down our sides on the games, and also prepping you for what's going to come after Super Bowl. We talk to you guys soon. Best of luck.